Hello, Jim here. Do you want to make some crazy income so you can retire sooner than you ever thought possible? Well, a great way to do that is by selling options. Today, I want to share with you my plans for retirement, how I put it all together, how I budget for it, how I set up my different income streams. So stay tuned. I think you're really going to enjoy what I have for you. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I do want to give a quick market update. The CPI was higher than what was expected, and I do think inflation is at a level that the Fed does not like. I'm not sure we're going to have any rate cuts. The consensus is 2 rate cuts. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have any. And if we keep trending up with inflation, who knows? They may end up doing another increase before it's all said and done. So that's my 2 cents, and as always, it may only be worth 2 cents. So let's jump into the main part of the video. Now, in my retirement planning, one of the key things I've done recently is move all my retirement accounts over to Fidelity. I originally had a 401k there, and I moved it over to an IRA. And in the last couple of months, I've moved my IRA from Schwab over to Fidelity, and I've also moved my Roth and a SEP account all over to Fidelity, and that's primarily to earn the higher interest. I'm able to sell options, and the cash that I use for my selling of puts is actually earning interest and in the sum of around 5%, a little bit higher than 5% on a monthly basis, and that ends up being quite a bit of money. Now, since I've moved everything all over, I also have a good bit of dividends there. So the makeup of my accounts are all my retirement accounts are at Fidelity and all my taxable accounts are at Schwab. I also still like Schwab. So at Schwab, I'm doing more covered calls. I have more dividends. And at Fidelity, I'm doing more puts, vertical put credit spreads, cash secured puts. And I'm earning really good interest and getting okay dividends, not as much as in my taxable, but it ends up being a good bit. So I just wanted to talk about that and just let you know that I've done that. That's what's worked for me. I'm in my second month of having the funds moved around, and so far it's working out really well. So, and what I've done because of that, I have one account which I call my Fidelity IRA that's right around 400K. Now, my goal for that account is to do between 1 to 2% monthly selling just premium. That doesn't include any interest that I might earn or any dividends or just, appreciation on the stocks. I do have quite a few stocks and ETFs in that account now, since it's really 3 accounts in one. Originally, it was just the 401k that I moved over to the IRA, but now it also has the IRA from Schwab and my SEP account from Schwab. And what I'm doing in there is what I call the adjusted wheel strategy. For those of you who do not know what the wheel strategy is, it's simply you sell a cash secured put on a stock or ETF that you like. And if it's assigned to you, then what you do is you take ownership of those shares, then you sell a covered call. And again, if it gets assigned away from you, you then can sell another cash secured put, bringing in more premium, and hopefully it again gets assigned to you. Now, if it doesn't get assigned to you with either calls or puts, you can just keep repeating that trade until it is assigned to you. But the goal is it produces a lot of income and it kind of rolls in this process. So I call it the adjusted wheel strategy primarily because I like to keep the stocks, especially if I can get them at a good price, or the ETFs. So in a lot of cases, instead of letting it get called away from me, I will look at keeping it. And how do I do that, you might ask? Well, what I do is I usually take less risk on selling the calls. So I will do more like a 20-25 delta, as long as they're nowhere near in the money. If they're in the money, then I'll take more risk to be able to roll them, especially for calls up and out of the money. But that's what I like to do. The main reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to miss some great opportunities. Last year, I missed some great opportunities to have Apple assigned to me around 100. Actually, I think it was around 125 or 120. And I missed the chance for Tesla right around 100. So I don't want to miss those opportunities. I want to get that appreciation. I'm a long-term income investor, so kind of like what Warren Buffett says, my time frame is forever. So my goal is to live off the premium from selling options, the interest, and the dividends, and pretty much keep all my portfolio intact for my son to inherit one day. So that's my Fidelity IRA. So I'm taking some risk, but not a huge amount of risk. I typically do very safe option strategies. I do the covered call, the vertical put credit spread, and the cash secured put. Now, I also have another account, which is my Fidelity Roth, and this account's right around 58,000, and I'm going to take more risk in that account. So my goal in that account is to do something more along the lines of 2 to 3% on a monthly basis, just in premium. Again, I have some assets in there that are earning dividends, and I'm also earning interest in that account. So that 2 to 3% doesn't include that or appreciation of the assets. And what I'm calling that is my growth option strategy. So I may take a little bit more risk in there. I may do, thinner spreads, but more contracts. I may also do stuff like poor man's covered call, or even an iron condor or a butterfly. I might take a little bit more risk, and I may use it as an opportunity to learn, how to do some of these more complex strategies, option strategies. So I wanted to mention that, and what I've done in my membership, and if you're interested in my membership, you can see more details below, is I'm sharing all details related to these accounts. I exported all the assets that are in each account, and I provide that to my membership, and then I keep track of any trades that occur. So when you're in that collection in my Patreon membership, you can see all the trades that have occurred, and it makes it really easy to mimic what I'm doing. Now, I do encourage my or the people in my membership to not just follow my trade exactly. They may find a better way to do it. They may pick different strikes, different expirations, to not necessarily go with exactly what I'm doing. And also always do your own due diligence. Now, again, if you want to learn more, details will be in my description. I do have a really nice coaching program. Now I believe it's pretty close to full. There may be one or two seats that are still open. What I do with that is I provide some hand holding, a coaching session each week, usually between 15 and 30 minutes. And then I have 2 other memberships. So I suggest take a look. It may be worth your while. And as always, please subscribe, hit that like button. I'm trying to get the word out. I want people to understand this is a really good way to be able to retire a lot earlier than you ever thought possible and have a much better retirement, bringing in a lot more cash. Now, the other piece I have not mentioned enough earlier is that, when you really look at all the pieces together, when you look at the premium from selling options, you look at the interest, and the interest has gotten quite big, especially with these higher interest rates. So in a way, I kind of don't want them to go away. I like having a nice amount of cash going into my accounts on a monthly basis. And then your dividends. And then you can also add, something along the lines of the 4% rule. How I like to look at it is to identify what you need. So set up a budget, identify what you need. Look at your options premium, look at your dividends, look at your interest. And if you per se don't have enough, then look at using something like the 4% rule. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the 4% rule. It could be the 1% rule or the 2% rule, meaning if you only need a couple $100 on a monthly basis to cover all your expenses, then you don't necessarily have to do what's considered the 4% rule. Now, if you're new to finance and you're not sure what I'm talking about with the 4% rule, it's just the strategy that you can take out about 4% of your portfolio in a particular year, and you would never run out of money. Now, as you go down, like you go from a 4% rule to a 3% rule or 2% rule, it really, your portfolio will continue to grow. What I've found over the years, helping different people and also with planning my own retirement, is the media likes to scare people. They like to say, oh, you need 1.5 million, 13 million, some crazy amount. But by selling options and all these other tools in your tool chest, you really have a lot more opportunities to bring in income. So it ends up being multiple streams of income. And then if you're like me and you like teaching others, you could potentially bring in income from YouTube, a part-time job. Maybe you're a golf fanatic, work part-time in a pro shop. I've done that before. Because of my eyes, I've got cataracts. My golf game is kind of rough right now until I get those cataracts taken care of. But that's something I did when I was younger. I really enjoyed working in a golf shop. And you can also pair that into your retirement. So that's the main stuff that I wanted to talk about. The next part of this video, I'm going to go into this spreadsheet. And this is the actual spreadsheet I've been using for years. Each month when I do these videos, I improve on it. So even this spreadsheet will be available to my membership so that they can use it and put their own numbers in there. Plus they can look at my numbers to see, hey, am I spending too much on this category or that category? Or maybe Jim's spending some crazy amount. Like if you look in this next part of the video, when you see how much I spend on insurance, your eyes may bug out of your head. And that's partially because I have a 21-year-old son. He actually just turned 21 a couple days ago. And his insurance, a 21-year-old here in Georgia, is outrageous. And he drives a Mustang. So you can just imagine. So that being said, let's jump into the next part of the video and we'll go over the spreadsheet. Okay, I've opened up my spreadsheet. This is what I call my budget 4% rule. I could come up with any number of names for it, but I'm going to start off with sharing the left-hand side, which is pretty much my budget. And this is my true budget that I use to I update it on a monthly basis, especially if my expenses change. So here you can see all the different expenses I have: homeowners insurance, real estate tax. The ones that are in red, they've gone up significantly. My real estate tax has gone up quite a bit here in Georgia, and these are actual numbers from my bill. Streaming services, some things have actually gone down. My internet access has stayed about the same. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to increase that too. Household maintenance, I've increased that recently. Mainly because I need to have the house painted and I need a few other things done to the house. And then, it should probably be here in painting and wallpapering, but I have it primarily in household maintenance. Then I have cleaning service. I do plan to get a cleaning service. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I do. I'm probably going to have someone come in and help me with the yard, maybe on twice a month, which I may need to add a little bit more money to this. Then I've got trash removal. That's, $25 a month, which again, that's pretty much what it is. Utilities, those have gone up. I found my electricity and my gas. I goofed. I made a mistake. I forgot to sign up for the lower priced. I think it's fixed gas price, and I got like a crazy bill. It was something like almost 3 times as much. I called them right away, but it wasn't anything I could do about the really high bill. But going forward, my gas especially will be higher, and then also my power will be higher. So you have other different things here. You've got car insurance. This is what I was talking about before. It's pretty outrageous. It's just cheaper for my son to be on mine, so he does reimburse me. But his is outrageous. His is probably almost $250 of the $347 on a monthly basis. And then gasoline, car maintenance, and repair. Luckily, since he knows how to work on cars, repair is very minimal. He can do most of it himself. Nothing else real interesting. Credit union. I don't currently have a mortgage, but I do have a HELOC, and that's my credit union loan, the HELOC, where I have the HELOC at a credit union. And then entertainment and food, I think I've increased those, but and they may need to go a little bit higher. I do find that food prices have gone up, and eating out definitely has gone up. But I found I've gone to the grocery store more often than eating out. Other things of interest is I do have a new dog. I was dogless for a little bit, but I've had Kingston, who's a mix between a German Shepherd and Lab. and I've had him, I guess, almost going on a year. It's hard to believe. And here's my budget for restaurants. A lot of key things that most people have. Now, one area that I did mark in red is disability insurance. Now, my understanding is this ends when I'm 60, and that's typical disability insurance because of the way Social Security works. You don't typically need it after 60 years old. So this will be ending in the next year and a half. That's why I have it in red. It's one expense that will go away. The other one that was a lot higher than expected was dental. I've needed some dental work. I've needed a root canal and then a new crown, and that was outrageously expensive. I even had a discount plan. It was still kind of crazy. So on a monthly basis, I'm right around 5,000, and again, that's for my son and I. So I think last time I did one of these, it was more like 4,500. So I think because of the increase in the utilities and some of these increased expenses, the taxes, has pushed me pretty close to 5,000. Now I think I could probably do better, but as you'll see, I have plenty of income coming in. So this is the more interesting part, and this is where my budgeting worksheet is a lot different than some of the others. So these are my actual accounts. I have a taxable account, which this is where I have most of my dividends. I actually use my account. I pay my credit card bill through it, and then I move money in and out. It's a little bit hard to keep track of it. That's why I'm not really looking at a monthly. Well, I am to a certain degree, but I worry less about trying to earn a certain amount each month compared to my other accounts, my retirement accounts. So in the taxable, I have around 13,000 in cash. And then I also have pretty good dividends. That's dividends on a yearly basis in that one account. I do have another account that I'm not showing here. I might add it next time. So I actually have two brokerages. My other brokerage is where my Coca-Cola stock is. And actually, it's the one that I use. I pay a lot of bills through it. I almost use it more like a checking account, even though I still do have a checking account. I've actually played with the idea of getting rid of the checking account and just working with Schwab. Here's my Fidelity IRA around 410 at the beginning of the month. And then my Fidelity Roth 59. And I have a lot of cash in my Fidelity IRA. Again, I transferred a 401k into it, and it's mostly cash still. So that'll change over probably the rest of the year. The cash will dwindle, and then I'll have more and more securities. Even with the small amount of securities in there, I'm still earning a pretty good amount in dividends. So 58.43, and then the accounts total is 627 for those three accounts. Now for the taxable interest, and these are actual amounts. So because Schwab pays such a small amount, they pay literally 0.45%. Now you can use SWVXX, which is a money market account, and move money back and forth. But since I have such a small amount of cash in there, I compared it. I think the interest doubled because, again, I'm only dealing with 13,000, and the cash kind of goes in and out a lot more in my taxable accounts. Now the taxable dividends this is on a monthly basis too. And then the dividends are $487 a month, and then the taxable premiums that I'm earning is a bit less than a lot of my other accounts, primarily because I only do covered calls in my taxable accounts. And I earn about 0.7% in that account on a monthly basis. So it's like almost 8%. And then when you do count in, again, asset appreciation, it is a bit more than that. Can I do better than that? I probably can. But being that my income, I want to keep my income down. I don't necessarily, want to have too many capital gains in my taxable account. So that's why I do a lot more trading in my Fidelity, my retirement accounts, because again, I can do that tax free. Now, Fidelity interest, I'm bringing in 1,103. This is pulled directly from my Fidelity account, and that's on a monthly basis. Fidelity premiums, that's incorrect. Don't know what I was doing there. Oh no, that's premiums. I'm sorry. That's based on a 1% return monthly. I was thinking dividends for an IRA and then 2% for a Roth. So it's a little bit more of a complicated calculation, which I have up here. So on a monthly basis, I'm looking at bringing in about 52.85 in the Fidelity accounts. That's the premium between my Fidelity IRA, which is 410, and my Fidelity Roth, and that's typically close to between 1 and 2% for my Fidelity IRA and 2 to 3% for my Fidelity Roth. What I'm thinking is, right now, the beginning of the year, it'll probably be closer to 1% for the IRA and 2% for the Roth. And then towards the end of the year, as I do more trades and kind of get it under my belt, how best to trade these accounts, then I'll be closer to 2% in the IRA and 3% in the Roth. It is kind of a learning curve for me using Fidelity. I've used Schwab so much that it's almost second nature on Schwab. Fidelity is a little bit different. It's taken me a little bit more to get used to it. And then Fidelity dividends, 486.92. And again, these are actual numbers from my account. Now here I have nothing for part-time work, which I probably should put something in there because I am working part-time and actually I'm bringing in a good amount of money. Another reason why I don't want to have too many capital gains in my taxable accounts. And then here's the 3% rule for IRA and 401k if needed. And I definitely don't need it right now. So the 8310 is the summation of all those incomes. It's the taxable income and the retirement income. So you can see, of course, I don't really have access to the retirement income, but I'm 58 and a half. Actually, this month, a year from today, I'll have access to the full amount of the accounts, and I could actually pull from these accounts if I need to, and I probably will. And I'll do that up until full retirement age, which for me is 67. So while I'm doing that with this budget, I have plenty of cash, especially now. Again, keep in mind this is lower right now because I'm not accessing almost 6,000 of the cash. But again, this is kind of a snapshot for a year from now, so I'll have plenty of cash at that point. And I'll probably won't be pulling since I'll have an overflow of almost 3361. I won't necessarily need to pull much out of the Fidelity. I'll probably work with taxable until I need more money out of Fidelity. Then I would take it, especially out of the Roth if need be. And then once I'm at full retirement age, once I hit that 67, then I would look at taking Social Security, which this amount here is actually based on my Social Security payment, which would be $22.16. Now that is about 3 years old, so maybe closer to $2,500 now. I believe this is back from 2021, so this will probably be another 300 or 400 higher than what it is. And then the net is using inflation kind of built in. I kind of gave it a 0.35, so I multiplied it by 1.35. The expenses to come up with kind of an inflation to get a feel for how I would be doing at that time, since it's literally it's almost 9 years from today. And I've used this pretty often, and again, I share this with my membership, and it's helped me with identifying, wow, I can retire. I don't need to panic. I can, if anything, I'm going to leave too much money to my son, and I need to enjoy myself some. That's one area that I've been told by numerous people, Jim, try to have more fun. And I'm enjoying, doing this YouTube channel. I'm enjoying meeting people and talking to them and seeing if I can help them. So what can you take from this? If you listen to the media, you'll think you can never retire, but you don't necessarily need as much as you think you do. I could get by with probably close to half this. And a lot of this, I don't necessarily use. So what's being found out there is lots of people are, passing huge amounts of money to the next generation. So that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. I do have up here the link there's a great 4% calculator. It's actually, the web address is 4percentrule.com. If you want to take a look at that and you want to throw some numbers in because you want to put this 3% rule. I put 3% rule, but it could be 2, 3, 4% rule, maybe even 1% rule. But again, the lower you go with the percentage, the more dramatic the impact, because you're using so much money out of your portfolio, or so little money out of your portfolio. So as always, I was curious to what you guys think. Are you doing something like this? What are your plans for retirement? Do you disagree with some of this? Please leave me a comment. I typically, within 48 hours, try to answer all these comments. And as always, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.